Hey guys, welcome back. And definitely a mixed bag of results for some of the bigger teams and a lot of causes for concern here. So let's jump into it. I wasn't able to catch any of the matches, so there won't be an in depth analysis like there normally is, but I'll do my best in this regard. First up was Liverpool versus Wolves, and honestly, I think Liverpool by the end of the second half definitely deserved to win this. But Wolves had really had a few chances. I mean, Pedro Neto, especially in the first half, could have probably gotten a couple more goals for them, whether it was him taking the shot himself or taking assists. But we've seen this issue with Wolves that they've struggled with finishing ever since Raul Jimenez got his injury. They've struggled, and we saw that with Mateus Cunha missing a Gilda's chance, and Liverpool capitalised on it. Dominic Szoboszlai changed the system, changed a bit like his role in the team in the second half, and that opened up space for Mohamed Salah, who had Wolves' left side to run into, and he was key to them getting the 3 goals. And we saw just how much injuries were affecting Liverpool. I mean, and suspensions. I mean, Van Dijk was suspended as an Arnold was injured, so we saw Joe Gomez on the right, while Kwanzaa started at centre back, and I think his first professional game of besides preseason. But that's a huge thing for the 20-year-old, and from what I read, he did all right, and just credit to him. And I say he'll be featuring a lot more because apparently he's really highly regarded at Anfield. Wolves, on the other hand, Gary O'Neill really needs to get them to finish because they're really missing that cutting edge, and they definitely need it if they don't want to get dragged into a relegation battle. Next is Fulham Luton. Fulham definitely had their chances. They definitely pushed upon Fulham, but they just weren't able to finish. And credit to Fulham, they had their chances and they managed to take one. It's really disappointing because Luton still haven't picked up a point. Fulham didn't look particularly great, in all honesty. They seemed to struggle with the physicality and the movements that Luton had. They attacked really well. I mean, Amari Bell coming in from like a wide centre back role, and Kabor with a few good balls into the box. Like, it shows that Luton have a bit of fight, but they definitely need to start picking up something. They need to pick up points in order to try to stay in this division. Fulham, on the other hand, fair juice to them getting the result. First kind of crazy game, Sheffield United 1, Tottenham 2. I mean, Sheffield United were basically just held on for dear life. Wes Foderingham had a brilliant game again. And he reminds me of David Marshall back when Cardiff first got promoted, and Neil Etheridge when they got promoted again, where it was pretty much him, and you were kind of saying to yourself that this keeper deserves a bigger move, and I hope he does get a move because he's been excellent for them so far. But unfortunately, they couldn't quell Tottenham because like Tottenham were pushing hard. They kept putting in chances. It was getting saves, clearances, everything, and it wasn't until Tottenham made subs and kind of became a lot more direct. Richarlison with a great header, really happy to see him do that, and Kulusevski with a brilliant finish. And we saw limbs at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And what I read was that the fans were really happy. They enjoyed the football. And while before under Conte they would have said, "Oh God," they went down a goal. Okay, that's it. We're not going to get there. We're going to lose this now. While with Postecoglou, there's always that fight. There's always that belief. And I think that's huge for Tottenham, and especially coming into the rest of the season when they have these kind of games again, these crunch times. Like, they're definitely going to need to kind of get that energy, get that spirit, and I think this is a great sign that things have changed at White Hart Lane, and onwards and upwards for Spurs. Next is City and West Ham. West Ham definitely knew what they were doing in terms of pressing City and kind of sitting deep and trying to break on the transition, and that's what led to Soufal again, busting down the right side, and then Ward-Prowse getting a header. But of course, Man City being Man City, they put a lot more pressure, and as a result, they managed to score, and they deserve to win in the end. It's kind of typical. Brighton versus Man United, I think, is the biggest match this weekend, the biggest talking point, because Man United set up brilliantly in the first half. They looked to press the centre backs of Brighton, and at the start, the first 5-10 minutes, from what I caught, they completely pressed them off the park. It was very feisty, really intense, and United had their chances. They were relying on the wing backs to overload on their sides, and Lamptey on the left, and I believe Veltman, who was on the right, just couldn't do anything. But eventually, Brighton realised that because it looks like United were playing a lot more narrower, they've managed to push out wide, and we saw the two wingers, doing a lot of work. And Brighton's first goal is doing that. They fed the ball out to the wing. It was drilled in. Lallana with a brilliant dummy for Welbeck to finish. And I think Brighton recognised that immediately and just kept doing that. saw that with Matoma and their third goal, and we just United didn't look like the Manchester United at Old Trafford. I mean, the last time they lost at Old Trafford was against Brighton last season, and it wasn't until Hannibal Mejbri with a brilliant finish, fair dues to him, and you just saw, like, despite this, United just didn't have much to fight for. And I think everything going on off the field is just really affecting the squad. With Sancho, Anthony, Greenwood, I mean, Ten Hag has really found it difficult, and I think it's going to be really fascinating to see where it goes, because they're playing Bayern Munich on Wednesday. Like, that's just going to be a really difficult task for them. So I'm really fascinated to see what happens with them. Just want to say to the Zerbi and Brighton, just they're incredible. Just again, once showing again why they really should be considered as a top 4 contender, which is mad to think, because I'm still thinking of the idea as like Brighton is Brighton, Man United is Man United, so Man United would naturally finish ahead of them. But we're seeing this now with Brighton's recruitment and how they play. Like, they can compete with anyone. So let's see how they get on now. I think they have the Europa League this week, and I'm really looking forward to see how they fare in that and how they get on with the rest of the season. Aston Villa left it late against Crystal Palace with Matthäus out, having a great run down the right hand side and playing it across to Edouard, which Martinez slipped, helped them get a goal. And Villa definitely were definitely the dominating team. They were holding on possession really well, definitely have a lot of chances. Sam Johnson was challenged a lot, and he did well in kind of when the ball came into the box, but courtesy of John Duran, former Chicago Fire striker, definitely, coming in and getting the goal to equalize, and then Sam Johnson with a pretty poor attempt to coming out for the ball, and then obviously the final goal, sealing the deal for Villa. Definitely a good motivation booster for this upcoming week. Unai Emery probably really happy seeing his side, show resilience and fight back. Palace obviously be disappointed, but hopefully Roy Hodgson is feeling better now because he fell on well, I think, yesterday or the day before, so hopefully he's feeling a lot better. Newcastle versus Brentford looked like a very interesting game in terms of Newcastle had a lot of chances, Brentford had a lot of chances, and it was really, I feel like probably Newcastle probably deserved to get the edge over it, mainly because Brentford's new goalkeeper Flecken just didn't look comfortable. He didn't look comfortable going for balls in the air. I think you saw the goal that was ruled out from Callum Wilson. It fell right under him like this, and he could have caught the ball like that, but unfortunately, he just did, or he could have caught it high, but he just didn't. He just took his eyes off it. And I know Wilson took him off psychologically, and I'm fully aware of that because I played in net before, and it was probably one of my biggest weaknesses of coming out for the ball. But a thing like that where it wasn't much of a challenge, I thought he would do a lot better, either to punch it or that. And when I was watching Flecken during the international break, against Ireland, he didn't look comfortable. And I think I said in the last video, I think he looked very shaky, and I'm wondering if Thomas Frank might be starting to consider it, because it's been several mistakes, several errors that has led to this. And I'm really interested, and they're probably somewhat regretting if David Raya is is let off, and we'll be talking about him in a sec. But it's mad to think, and it was Flecken who gave away the penalty, he rushed out, and it just was a penalty. Wilson with a great execution, fair dues to him. And yeah, I say, Newcastle be really relieved to finally end their 3-game losing streak. The second last match of this was Bournemouth versus Chelsea, and both sides definitely could have taken 3 points from this game. Chelsea looked a bit shaky in the back; they didn't look organised, and if Bournemouth were a bit more clinical and Robert Sanchez seemed to be in good form, made a couple of great saves, one very brave one in the first half, they could have come out with 3 points. Chelsea as well, they had good moves, but they didn't look clinical again. And it's going to be an issue. Fans were booing Pochettino at the end of the game. I don't think it's a Pochettino thing. It's just that the squad isn't gelled yet, and I think they need to kind of figure out what they need to do to gel and be able to attack as proficiently as they'd want. But fair dues to Bournemouth, they fought well. Areola has them working really well, and they just need a few more points to kind of justify how they're playing. And last up was Arsenal versus Everton, and finally Arteta has broken his duck at Goodison Park, and it wasn't from not trying. Martinelli with goal ruled out for. I'm very itchy about it, or skeptical on why it was ruled out. I'm aware that the rule is if the ball is made an intentional play on the ball, but I think it was Abdoulaye Doucouré who pressed, I believe it was Saliba, and got deflected, towards Nketiah, and then obviously laid off to Martinelli. Like, that's a deliberate play on the ball, but I don't know why it's been, like, I know he was offside, but the angles, and I think Gary Neville mentioned on commentary that he wasn't too sure about what if it was offside. But anyway, Arsenal fought back. Martinelli going off injured isn't great, but if he didn't, it wouldn't have been for Trossard to come on, and in the second half, with a great little bit of play between Odegaard and Saka, eventually fell to Trossard, who finished it brilliantly in hitting the inside of the post. And Everton, I'm really disappointed that they didn't really challenge much. They definitely sat back and kind of absorbed Arsenal's pressure. And it's the thing I've noticed with Arsenal this season is that they're struggling to break down the defensive line. And like they're dominating the midfield, they're dominating possession, but they're definitely struggling to make that final pass, because you see it with Saka and Martinelli, like they're doing really well to kind of put pressure onto the back line, but they're just never getting goal scoring positions because they're just being crowded out. I think it's going to be something to see if Arteta can adapt to that, and maybe look to bring on allow Thomas Partey to have a few more pot shots from distance, encourage Odegaard to take long range shots because he has a good strike on him. I'm really fascinated to see what's going to happen there. I hope you enjoyed the video. Obviously, I didn't cover Nottingham Forest versus Burnley because it hadn't happened yet. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, take care.